Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 98 of Two Amazon Sellers and a Microphone, brought to you by Solozo. Today, Kris and I are pumped. We have Will Haire from Bellavix on with us, and we are very excited to dive into a bunch of different topics about Amazon. Will, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, fellas. Thanks so much for having me. I'm just going to do it where it's at, just to say we got it live. We got it on a podcast.
That's right. We were talking about that before. You came on. You're the first person to come on and say Two Amazon Sellers and a Microphone where it's at. I mean, that was
98 episodes. So now you guys are officially ready for episode 100. Your fan base, everybody who's listening, I got you covered. We are good.
Yes, calling all Beck fans. Exactly. Yeah, good stuff. Well, that immediately means you're cool, so we'll let you continue. That's
Thanks.
Nice.
I'm flattered. As you get to know me better, you may change, but I appreciate it. And I want to tell you a little bit about myself. So I'm a co-founder and CEO of Bellavix. I personally have over 10 years of experience working in e-commerce, and I've worked on Seller Central, Vendor Central, the Amazon advertising platform, and DSP. And Bellavix as an agency, we're an Amazon management company for direct-to-consumer retail brands who want to aggressively grow sales on the world's largest marketplace. So that's kind of where we position ourselves as a business. And we've been operating in the space for a little bit over 3 years now.
Very good. So you started Bellavix about 3 years ago. And I mean, right now, this is huge. I mean, how many direct-to-consumer brands are there now since the pandemic hit that realize they have to transition and figure out this beast that's Amazon, whether they've dabbled in it before or whether they just were anti it. They were like, no, we're the retail model. And now, I mean, to tackle Amazon is wild.
It's amazing, and it's just a great place to be. Just a great time to be in e-commerce, to be honest with you. And one of the things I love the most is just the adoption of digital. A big thing coming out in the pandemics, and a lot of the industry reports are just aggressive growth and adoption of digital behaviors. And now we're in the process of witnessing things kind of going back to normal. And from an e-commerce perspective, and kind of what I'm thinking as an agency owner, as I'm helping my brands, how much of these new behaviors are going to stick? Have we witnessed that launch, and now it's just the market catching up with regards to supply, other agencies and software solutions who can service those types of clients, I'm pessimistic, but I'm obviously biased, or are we going to see a decline in just the amount of consumption on marketplaces and more of a shift back to traditional retail, which I'm pessimistic that that's the case. But I'd love to get Dustin, Kris, your guys' opinion on that, because that's something that I've been racking my brain with, but I'm excited.
I think it's going to be interesting to see. I think there's been a big just shift in consumer habits. I mean, you see people that never in their life bought online before. It's like older generation people. They didn't trust it. They didn't want anything coming. Now they're Prime members. They're getting all kinds of stuff. I mean, I'm watching, my parents order stuff online all the time. So I think that there's been a dynamic shift. And I think in other aspects too, is like if you talk about like the grocery category or anything like that, I think there was a big hesitation to order online there. I think that shifted as well. And
what I love, Dustin, is you use your parents as a benchmark, and I think all of us do that. I know digital's picking up because my mom's ordering groceries online, and let me tell you, that's not supposed to happen in my lifetime.
Yeah. Even for me, I mean, some things that I didn't do a lot of, like I didn't do a lot of gift buying on Amazon, which was stupid because it's the easiest thing you can do. It's free delivery to wherever they are. So, I mean, I think there's been a dynamic shift in the marketplace, and I think we've only scratched the surface. I think it's going to grow a lot. I think retail has its place, brick and mortar. I think they have to adjust too. They have to offer a better experience. There has to be something experiential about retail to make it better. But you see things like I was looking for an office desk for my son who's a teenager and husband. I'm looking for that. and just like looking up stuff on the Amazon app where you can like place it in the room with the camera.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a cool experience. I mean,
Oh yeah, they get better. Even the 360 images. I have a couple of clients that we brought on that in the home and garden space, which happens to be a category that's approved. And it made a difference in conversion rates. I think we saw a 15% lift of not having 3D images versus having those 360 degree spin images. But to your point, just what a better user experience and what a great thing to roll out. And I know Amazon, if I am speaking correctly, they have a service where you could send your products out to them and they will do the 360 photography. If not, I know there's tons of third-party outfits that do that as well.
They will, for sure. So real quick, before we go on, I'd like to just get a little bit more of your story, sort of like how you got into e-commerce in the first place, and then what was the impetus to start Bellavix?
Yeah, sure. Cool. So I've always been a digital marketer. So what a lot of people don't know, I have a military background. So I did 5 years in the service and I got out, and I'm actually a licensed electrician. And before I did Amazon, I worked my way in the power industry from a technician while going to college full-time to an operations manager where I managed certain aspects of a power plant. But while I was doing that full-time, I was going to school full-time, got my degree. And the second I got my degree, I quit. I wasn't really interested in that. So I majored in entrepreneurship and I left university and left a comfortable 6-figure job to go make $15 an hour working at a digital marketing agency, learning Google AdWords and analytics. And from there, I never looked back. At this point, it's a little over 10 years. And it was great. And while it was tough at first, because I was passionate about what I did, opportunities present themselves. I got to work at bigger, larger agencies on larger accounts. I got to gain a lot of experience from not only within marketplaces, but general digital strategies. And a little over 3 years ago, worked at a lot of agencies. I've always been entrepreneurial with side hustling and so on and so forth. And I just saw an opportunity to just leave my current position and just focus on Amazon and marketplaces, because that's really what I was excited about. Up and coming, it represents such a large chunk of e-commerce. I wanted to jump in both feet, if you will. And that's what we did. We left. I was really fortunate because of my background doing digital and working in agencies that my first clients reached out to me when I left, and I was able to land some deals and start to grow the agency. So 3.5 years later, we're about 12 full-time employees. We're managing around 30 accounts and about $3 million a month of revenue on the platform. So we're not a large agency, but we've definitely come a long way in the last 3 years. And a lot of that has to do with learning the space, the processes, the systems we're putting in place, and hiring the right team and the right talent. So those are a little bit about us and kind of where we're at now as a business and a company.
And the Amazon space is always changing. Like, you have to be ready for the newest thing. Like, always. And we're seeing that especially this year. New ad placements coming out, new promotion types. Over there, like the last 12 months, it feels like Amazon is being more acceptable of brands and like giving brands more access to doing things like Vine program and all that kind of stuff. But one topic that you put in here was about customer service. And I used to work at a sporting goods e-commerce company, and I worked at the customer service area, and I was always told, always take care of the customer no matter what, give them a refund, all that kind of stuff. Like, make sure they're happy, make sure they come back. So let's touch on some of that with Amazon. What do you guys do, or what are some of your best practices that you recommend for Amazon, for brands on Amazon, selling on Amazon?
Beautiful. I think you hit it home. At the end of the day, a positive customer experience, what's going to drive a lot of customers back. About 66, according to the latest FeedVisor research paper, 66% of product discovery starts on Amazon. So we know they're going on there. They're looking at your reviews and how you are as a business. Something that changed, as you mentioned, that somewhat killed me, is our inability to actually comment on negative product reviews. That's something they took away that we were a big proponent of, because it did show good customer service and an engaged company. And unfortunately, they took that away. So we're relatively limited on what we can do. But the best practices for us, is obviously put the customer needs first and make sure that it's a positive experience. And how we do this is very simple. So because we're an agency, we work with a lot of different brands, and they have a lot of different policies on how they handle returns and how they engage the customers. So what we do, we have kind of a generic spreadsheet that we keep, and we have our typical questions. How do you handle return policies? What do we do with damaged products? What are your policies in place? And then we actually hire a copywriter. We love to use copywriters because we're very data driven. So we like to make sure that the language is on point and that it's really leading a good experience. And then we kind of build out this template. Our clients will approve it. They'll add in some of their own. And then we have our copywriter just go through and edit. The clients will sign it off. And then as items and issues come in, we respond in the brand voice and accordingly, and we make sure that it's a good experience. That's on the platform. So those are like your buyer messages, your customer questions, and even sometimes your negative seller feedback. When we can respond or rebuttal, we will. Talking about the products, so the other side of that, of course, is letting your customers know where they could find you and reach out to you. So package inserts that are within Amazon's terms of service. You're not using an email address. You're not directing them off Amazon, but you're sharing with them that, hey, if you have any issues, if you're not 100% satisfied for whatever reason, here's how you reach us on Amazon, and here's how we can help. We don't necessarily, like a lot of our companies might have 100% guarantee, or they'll give something back, and we generally won't put that out right away until we know what the problem is and to make sure that the product or whatever would be covered. So that's, a lot of it comes back to just checks and balances, making sure you're in the right tone, and then making sure that we're putting the customer experience first. So timely, effective communications, and just making sure we're in the proper voice. And a lot of that is just a partnership with the brands we work with, and using a copywriter. I know it's a lot of people will try to write them themselves. And when we first started out, we did too. And then I got schooled by a copywriter. I'm like, you know what? It's better just to, put a little money down, and it's not expensive. I mean, our copywriter charges us $50 an hour, and she could generally crank out a bunch of these in an hour or two. So it's money well invested.
Are you guys doing anything on the buyer seller messaging part? Do you send any kind of special message there?
We do. So we have the automated feature. So if somebody responds, this way we stay within our 24-hour window. And then outside of that, we always make sure we respond if it's respond worthy. Buyer messages, and we'll usually bring it by the client. Sometimes the client will have specific issues, or they know something's going on, and they'll address it separately. But for the most part, clear communications through buyer messages. Generally, if it's not templated, I'm not hitting the copywriter up every time we need to get something out. So we will write something. The copywriting covers like 80 to 90% of the buyer issues. And as you guys know, with most companies, it's like the same 5 questions over and over again. Where's my package? My package came damaged. How do I return this package? Like a lot warranty issues. A lot of questions are pretty easy to answer.
So a question I have is, because it's interesting how things evolve. So like when Kris and I started selling back in 2014, we would use automatic email templates, and so when somebody buys from us, they get an email, and we would say this nice story. Hey, we're a small family business. We really value our customers. It was a way to get reviews, but also to sort of introduce ourselves as what we do. And that was really effective at that time because nobody was sending out those emails, and you'd get responses all the time. Oh my gosh, I can't believe you reached out. I mean, it's like all this good stuff. You get good feedback. But now that's changed. I mean, now people are inundated with those. I mean, if you order on Amazon all the time, there's tons of those. So are you using any like initial correspondence, or is it only in response to issues?
Only. So great point. And post-purchase email sequence is something we actually did away with. The request a review feature has been on point. So we let Amazon take its normal course of action on how it follow up. But we do keep the post-purchase email sequence. And strategically, we don't use it for one-time purchases. So this is more for consumable items. So a strategy we employed is, what we found is that we were measuring the rate in which we get reviews when we would send out the post-purchase email sequence versus doing the request to review. And we found that we got about twice as many more reviews using the request a review feature versus the post-purchase email sequence. But it is such a powerful tool because it does allow you to put yourself out there. But to your point, everybody has the same message. We're a small business. You're supporting us locally. And why I worked in 2015, unfortunately, people have opted out of these emails, and it just doesn't resonate the same. So how we started using it, a day 28 is the last day that you could send out a post-purchase email sequence from some type of purchase made on the platform. So on day 27, 28, we send an email out asking how their customer experience was, what they think about the product, and then recommending some other products. So it's kind of a check-in email, and then we kind of run the sequence that way. And the goal is to get that repurchase. So what we shifted our post-purchase email strategy to be, it's no longer about acquiring reviews. We're not even asking in this email. If they didn't give it to us 14 days after we did the request to review, then generally we're less worried about it, and we're more trying to get that repurchase. So that is how we've been using the post-purchase email sequence, and it's been fairly successful. It still doesn't get a ton of traffic, but it does help with repurchasing, which is why we're using it.
Let me make sure I get that. That's good there. So you're doing the request to review first, whatever time frame, 7 days.
Yep.
And then the last day, that is like the 28th day, 27th day, you're following up with a different email that asks like how things are going and check out these other products. That's it.
That's it. Simple as that. Just a gentle reminder. Hey, I hope you liked your purchase. We're always here for you. And then we don't reach out anymore because we're not trying to violate any of Amazon's terms of service, because they will drop the hammer.
No doubt. No doubt. I'm assuming it's consumables, right? You're like
it's consumable. So one-time purchases, we're not using it at all. We're just using the request to review feature. There may be opportunities to use the post-purchase email. Love to get your guys' opinion on it. But we've just been sticking to the request to review only because we have the data that proves we've seen better conversion rates. And I'm not sure if you guys have seen something similar with request to review versus post-purchase.
Yeah, I mean, we do see that. I mean, that's why, I'll speak for myself. I mean, that's why I stopped just the follow-up emails, the automated follow-up emails. And I went with the request to review button because that's what I was using those before to do, was to get the review. But I really like what you're saying. I actually haven't heard this perspective before, where, you know, basically the last day you can send an email, it's a gentle nudge. And I can see that for sure for consumables. And I can also see it for potential pairing of products. I mean, if you're in the workout space or something like that, and then they bought a workout product and there's a more advanced version or something they could do now that they're in their fitness journey. Yeah. I think there's a lot of opportunities there. That's a new thing I'm putting on my to-do list.
Heck yeah. I'm glad I was able to have an impact. And I'll just throw it out there that in order to stay in compliance with Amazon's terms of service, you need to address the previous purchase. So that's why it's important to check in, make sure that they're having a good experience before you suggest these other products or bring up anything else. So the touch point needs to be related to that purchase. So it's important that your first paragraph and what you lead with is, how's your experience? Are you enjoying our product?
Got it. And you're adding the order number in there, I'm assuming somewhere.
Yeah, we have I forgot the name of the software, but yeah, it plugs it all in there for us, and it puts a nice picture in there too, so they remember what the product was when they bought it.
Like it. I will be trying that on my products after this.
Heck yeah.
Absolutely.
Let me know how you guys do. I hope it's a needle mover.
Well, do you see any pickup there? Like, can you see a trend where all of a sudden that goes up at all?
Slightly, I would say it's it's really hard to track, to be honest with you. So we're just doing it out of best practices and just, really looking at that, how much of our sales are new to brand sales through advertising versus not. But I don't have a lot of information on the lift from it. It's something we're rolling out and just putting out there. But it is something we'll need to measure better. And hopefully next time we have this conversation, I'll have some stronger data points for you.
Well, that's good stuff, because it's difficult on Amazon, and they make it more and more difficult to offer customer service. I mean, There's no doubt it's their customer. Yeah, it's not really your customer. It's Amazon's, and but with the tools they allow us, I mean, obviously any advantage a seller can get to offer a better service, they should take advantage of it. So that's really good. Kris, did you have another question you want to throw in on that?
No, I just I've never heard of that strategy. I think we all get confused, like we just focus on getting the review. But I like the upsell. I like the upsell approach.
I do too. I think another thing that we can sort of shift topics here, because this is another thing that's been, all through the pandemic. I mean, this was a huge issue with inventory restrictions, and they kept changing it, and now they've made another change. So we'd love to get your input on what you're seeing in that space, just with the storage limits, how you're handling that. And I mean, it's like moving goalpost, it seems like. So,
oh man, and it is very timely. I think this went out early May, or maybe it was May 1st. They started rolling out, but they put. I'm sure anybody who's selling on Amazon has noticed that according to Amazon, they removed the ASIN level restrictions for the amount of inventory you could send in, and they moved it more to a basket or an account level type of setup, and they're using cubic feet essentially as a way to kind of for you to manage your inventory. So an individual seller account, if there's any out there, you get 10 cubic feet and that's it. And then for professional seller account, they say you may or may not have any limits. And typically what we're finding is about 25 cubic feet is what they're being allowed. And the sellers who maintain a good IPI score, that's your inventory performance index, will good IPI score, a good sales velocity, they're going to have more of this space to work with. And so twofold from an Amazon perspective, I see this as that they want more brands who are moving product on the platform. And what I think from a business perspective, Amazon no longer wants to be everybody's storage. They don't want to fulfill. They have literally city-size warehousing areas where they're storing these products. And I could see from a business level why they're just trying to shift out. If you're not moving product, you can't keep it here. So that's where I think a lot of this is coming in. But it is affecting sellers' ability to just to maintain inventory. So not only that, so they said, okay, we're going to remove the ASIN limit, but they still have restocking capacity issues. So not only do you have to manage now your cubic feet and how much inventory you're going to leave in there, you also have to manage the individual ASIN restocking limits, which is challenging for a certain size brand. So I would say for our brands who are under 100K a month in sales on specific products, it's not as much of an issue. We're the cap that they put on is kind of where current sales velocity we were seeing. So that wasn't as much of an issue. But for some of our blue chip accounts, those larger accounts, they didn't give us enough space to move the products, and we're moving obviously a high volume of products on the platform, and that's where things are really starting to get challenging. So 2 notes for you guys. So limits, they fluctuate daily. So it's a rolling average based on quarterly numbers. And if you're doing merchant fulfillment, they're counting all those numbers in there when they give you what your restock limits are. So they're taking in a lot, but you're leaving a lot on Amazon for them to forecast correctly based on seasonality, year over year, what you did over last month over month, and how your current catalog is moving. And where I see it restricts is for anybody with new products. So these restocking limits are really going to cause an issue. And then if anybody happened to have more products than they were allotted, there's an overage fee. So anybody who has products in there and you got this amount and you're 1,000 units over what you should, you would need to start looking at liquidating those products through promotions, wherever you want. But you are going to start being hit with overage fees for going over that amount. So that is a lot about the specific policy. So I guess if you guys had any questions at the policy, then I could talk a little bit about how I'm seeing it affect sellers and kind of some of the workarounds we've come up with already at Bellavix that I'm happy to share with you guys and your audience.
I was talking to a seller who has 10,000 excess units that he needs to get out. And I don't know. I was like, good luck, man. I don't know what you're going to do, but good luck.
Flash sale.
Yeah, flash sale, deals, lightning deals, all of it. So I don't know, like that's where you have to probably get a 3PL and just move some out and just kind of feed it back again, which is going to take a lot of time, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we actually have an Amazon selling partner we talk to. So some of the accounts we're fortunate enough to work with, we'll get an appointed Amazon rep, a lot of these launch accounts. And we talk to them personally to say, hey, how do we get these limits raised? And what they told us is that they had an internal meeting on Amazon. And in the past, because this isn't the first time Amazon's put inventory restrictions in place, they said normally they could just put in a request and get it lifted. But the powers that be have put on to these specialists that they are not allowed to lift any of the limits. In order to get limits lifted, this is what our rep told us to do, is to create a case. Inside that case, show the sales velocity, show where you're limited, and show how much sales you're potentially moving on, and then and follow up with Amazon. And then in our case, if you have the ability to reach out to somebody at Amazon, we would take that and present it to them, and they said that they can run it up. But there's no promises or guarantees. So for whatever reason, this time around, Amazon is taking these inventory restrictions pretty seriously, which is kind of a pain. So just throwing that out there.
I think that they learned their lesson in a lot of ways with the pandemic. I mean, you can tell from the history of Amazon, they've been transitioning from a warehouse to more of a just-in-time fulfillment center, basically. Yeah. I mean, that's what their goal is. You can tell. I mean, when we started, I don't even know if there was long-term storage fees. I can't even remember. I would ship in thousands and thousands of units. They'd be there forever, but it was totally fine. But then they started doing long-term storage fees. That was their first, and then they got heftier. And then it was like, that was their first real push to get people off. But now when the pandemic hit and they didn't have space for toilet paper, and they couldn't fulfill, they had to make sure that they were able to streamline their operations. But talk to us about, so I can just imagine you got a blue chip client and they don't have the appropriate inventory limits, and so they're probably going out of stock. And I mean, it's not like their receiving times are getting back to normal. It's still, I mean, you may get the delivery there, but it may take forever for it to get checked in. Yeah. How are you managing this?
So we're actually doing a lot of shifting. So I'll talk about my blue chip clients first that are larger, and then I could talk about 3P sellers. So we kind of have a range depending on the size of your audience's businesses, whoever's listening. Yeah. So with our blue chip clients, all of them, we're fortunate enough that they have a hybrid approach. So we have a vendor central account, we have a seller account. So what we have decided to do, and we're starting to shift over, is removing our evergreen products or our core products. We're shifting them over to Vendor Central. Vendor Central, we don't have to worry about these limits. Amazon's issuing purchase orders. And don't get me wrong, as you guys probably know, Vendor Central comes with its whole other host of problems. So the things we're worried about is the crap policy, can't realize actual profit, which is just Amazon's excuse to just violate your MAP policy. And that is something that we are concerned about. And they really are putting you in a spot. But we plan on migrating most of those products over to Vendor, and then having the Seller Central listing available if we have to shift back and forth. And then the strategy that we're going to use is we are going to use Seller Central for new products and products that don't have as good a sales velocity. We're going to push them hard for a specific time period. And if we can't get sales velocity up to a point where Vendor Central is going to actually make purchases and we could shift over and start fulfilling orders through there, we're going to scale it back and either not make it available on Amazon or just keep much less quantity on the platform, or just move over to fulfilled by merchant, and what we get is what we get. So from the blue chip perspective, a lot of what the conversations we're having is just shifting over the platforms from the 3P to the 1P, and that's an advantage for those blue chip clients that have that ability.
And then on the small scale, what are they doing? What do you suggest there?
Yeah, so the small scale, it's a little more difficult, as it always is, David versus Goliath. So, here we go. So when we talked about this as a team meeting, so we actually got together to talk about it today. The three things that we notice as problems that a 3P seller is going to face is they need to think strategically about rolling out products. You guys don't have another venue that could do Prime. So there's something to be said about the amount of products you can move via Prime versus just being FBM. There is a bump. So strategically understanding how to roll out products, how much inventory to hold at Amazon, and then establishing timelines on when to move on from a product. And I think this is, it's not a bad thing, because I think it's going to make sellers be more strategic and think a little more about their products and their investments. So I think we'll see a lot less of buying 2,500 units and throwing it all on Amazon to see what's going to stick, because it's just not going to happen anymore. So some of the workarounds to increase the limits. I mean, at the end of the day, what's really interesting, so I'm going to tie it back to something I said earlier. Amazon says they're analyzing your data quarterly, and they're coming up with these forecasts that are improving your limits. However, I know, because I've been checking it every day, we're doing a lot of research on this, that it's a rolling average. Our levels are changing daily. Sometimes it's a little bit, sometimes it's a lot. I a client today, we said, hey, Prime Day is in June. They're giving you 3,000 extra units. Throw it all in there. That was on Friday. Today, he lost 3,000 units that he would have been able to send in. They just cut it. And he was like, he went in today to fulfill it, and we just missed it. So don't miss that opportunity. But what I'm getting at is that sales and velocity is what's going to improve that number. So a couple of things, if you have the ability to do seller fulfilled Prime, I'm just going to start with the easiest. Do seller fulfilled Prime. Make sure you have a good logistics partner. There's lots of them out there. But understand that it's a high bar, and once you get it, you have to maintain that. So it's important that you have a good partner for seller fulfilled Prime. The second opportunity is multi-channel fulfillment. So if you're not doing multi-channel fulfillment, this could be an opportunity, because if you can afford the extra fees, that Amazon will see that sales velocity and will give you more room inside your inventory level to move that around. This isn't going to work for everybody, I know that, but I'm primarily focused on Amazon, and this is what I would recommend to any of our businesses who are trying to push the limits for Amazon. And then last but not least, fulfillment by merchant. So during periods of expected increase of sales velocity, is just to have FBM products active, and then move traffic to those listings to try to generate enough sales from those FBMs that velocity will pick up, and it'll be picked up in the inventory limits, and that's how you're going to lift it. So it's, a lot of it's going to be pay to play. A lot of it's going to be, either finding a good fulfillment center or putting campaigns in place that are going to lead to purchases. And that comes with its own challenges. But these are pretty much the three ways that we see that that outside of what's on Amazon, the demand on Amazon, that you could kind of push traffic in there or try to get your inventory increased by increasing sales velocity.
It's good stuff. And really, this is something that Kris and I harp on a lot. If challenges that come up will eliminate the competition that's unwilling to work hard to make these things happen. So and obviously Amazon has their reasons for doing these things, but taking away some of your ability to do customer service, putting weird inventory restrictions on your products. But those are challenges that you can overcome. I love some of the strategies that you laid out there to overcome those. And when you do, you're going to be left standing when others left the game because of those things. So a lot of times those challenges can be good for the people that are committed. So I really like it. All right, real quick, I want to change again to another. Let's talk about Bellavix. Okay, so let's talk about you, what you guys do. You got the floor just to sort of talk to everyone out there, sort of what all the services you offer at Bellavix and how people can get in touch with you and get set up with you.
Cool, appreciate it, Dustin. So super easy. We're a full channel management agency. So think of us as turnkey operations. We manage everything from operational, inventory forecasting, sales forecasting, customer service, brand protection, marketing, SEO, and advertising, all on the Amazon platform. So we're hyper-focused on helping businesses grow on Amazon. If you're a business who feel like you hit a certain threshold, you're having trouble figuring out the right marketing solutions to put in place in order to build your audience, increase brand awareness, and drive total sales on the platform, we would be the best guys to talk to. And you could find us by going to our website, bellavix.com. You could check me out on LinkedIn, Will Haire. I talk pretty much every day about something on Amazon. I love the space and in the ecosystem. But those would be the best. And then, of course, email will@bellavix.com or hello@bellavix.com if you want a regular email to reach out. But happy to answer any questions and talk shop. And I appreciate you guys letting me on. to share a little bit about customer service, inventory, and about us. So thanks a lot, guys.
Oh yeah.
And all his information is going to be in the comments. It's all in there, all the contacts, the LinkedIn. So you could, if you want to find out more about it, just go check that out. There's a bunch of links down there.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
And we appreciate everything. I mean, obviously we could talk for like 9 hours or a day about Amazon. So we're going to get you back on. We've got lots of other topics we'd love to explore with you, get your expertise on what's going. Things change every day in the Amazon world. So it's always good to talk about the way that we're pivoting and adjusting to those changes. So we really appreciate your insight. I encourage anybody who's looking for sort of a full service approach or you're not on Amazon right now, but you're looking to be, reach out to you and what you guys are doing over there. And we appreciate you coming on. And anybody listening right now and you like content like this, I encourage you to subscribe to our podcast. Please leave us a review.
Real quick, Dustin.
Yeah, go ahead.
We've got 1 review in 98 episodes.
That's true.
And it just says, and the review just has my name on it. Like, that's it. Like, we don't, it just says Kris, 5-star Kris. So like,
thanks,
I know
Mom.
we got people listening, but like,
Right.
if you just put something in there, it'd be great, because we don't have any idea, any feedback. So it'd be great if you just left a review for us. It'd be awesome.
We know you're listening, and we see the numbers. We know there's a lot of listeners. So we'd love a review. Let us know how we're doing. Good point, Kris. We need that for sure. We'd love it. Also, we live stream these on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. So you can go to the Solozo pages and channels on all those platforms. Subscribe, turn on notifications so you can get these videos. They'll just pop up on your phone, right on your Facebook page. When you're scrolling through, you'll see us chatting all of a sudden and learn something from Will about inventory. It's great. So I encourage you guys all to do that. If you're looking to automate and optimize your PPC advertising on Amazon, go to Solozo.com. You can book a demo with either Kris or myself. We'll walk you through the entire Solozo platform, show you how we can help you optimize and automate your ads. So thanks, Will. Thanks for joining us. Thanks, everybody, for listening, and we'll do this again next time.
Thanks for having me.